Welcome to another episode of Five Strands with Art Del Cueto. As always, I'm going to ask you, subscribe and share. The only way we move the needle is if we actually share some of this information. I know sometimes the needle doesn't feel like it's going to get moved, but we need to, especially moving forward. I've been talking about the midterms. I stressed on it in a lot of the interviews that I've been doing, the national interviews, because they're important. And I'm going to tell you, nothing seemed more important from the midterms than what I just have been looking at the last couple of weeks. A lot of you are familiar with what was happening in Spain. There was an invasion of individuals that came into the country down there. I mean, it was just, if you see the video, it's horrendous, where they're just coming off the beach, climbing up the side of some of the hills and the mountains there, and people were just, they didn't know what to do. Now, there's a lot of other stories out there on attacks on the people in the population that live there that sometimes haven't gotten out. But if you look through them enough, you'll find them. But I'm going to tell you what was disturbing even more so than the incident was that I saw a lot of people saying that this was a wake-up call for America on what could happen here. Now, I'm going to tell you, I disagree with that. It's not a wake-up of what could happen here. It is a reminder of what could happen here again, because those of us that have truly not forgotten and saw what happened on the southern border during the Biden administration can attest that those things were happening down here. I often compare and talk about the issues in El Paso. There was one incident that a lot of individuals have known and seen, where there was right around 300 individuals that took down the fence near the port of entry in El Paso and came across into the U.S. Well, that same weekend, we had over 3,000 in Arizona. So, again, yes, look, people need to pay attention, but let's not forget, it already happened here, and we cannot afford for it to happen again. That is why these midterms are so important. So pay attention, folks. Look, right now is not the time. And I'll tell you what the difference is. We don't have people running that might be, somewhat moderate or whatever it may be. We have a serious problem in the United States where the people that were running on the left are now, they're socialists. They're, they don't care about this country. They want to destroy everything that this country is about. So midterms are extremely important. And of course, look, you've heard me say it up to a billion times. I'm in Arizona. We need a change. Andy Biggs is that change that can help us moving forward. And I just attended his rally, you would say, where, up in Phoenix. There's another one coming up in Tucson. We need to make sure, and you don't need to tell people, oh, this is what I'm voting for, if that's what you're worried about. And look, I don't judge people on that. If you're worried of your neighbors or somebody else saying something about you, I get it. I'm too far gone, right? So everyone knows where I stand politically, and they see me out somewhere and they come up to me and they ask me questions, which is, I enjoy it. And again, that's what moves the needles. Real quick, for those of you that have been messaging me also on Instagram, I have not been ignoring you. I just can't answer you. I'm in timeout from messaging people until the 28th of this month, I believe. So I can't respond. I can't message back. But anyway, I wanted to really touch on that. We cannot forget what we saw in Spain. We had already seen here. And we can't afford to have that happen again. So people, please, really, really be vigilant of that and pay attention to the midterms. On another note, I saw something on the news just recently where there was a huge bust in Arizona with individuals that were buying weapons and taking them south. There was, just a huge operation that had been taking place for 2 years now, and they were able to secure a big bust. That's big news, because I've been saying it for quite some time. We need to start paying attention, and I guess this message is for leadership and law enforcement. Start paying attention to some of that southbound traffic. I think it's very important. Those that are going southbound on highways that are going back into Mexico, we need to pay very, very close attention to that, because drugs are coming into the country still. I know the border is more secure than it's ever been, but listen, these individuals are not going to stop. They're just going to get more creative. And if drugs are coming in, money's going south. So start paying attention to that. In this instance, there was guns that were being run south. I'm still waiting, though, on Fast and Furious and the individuals that were involved in that, especially individuals within, leadership. Where are they? And I think that now we should open the books and investigate them on their role in taking weapons south and pretty much arming cartels and having Americans, lose their life, including Border Patrol agent Brian Terry, because of those actions. So look, it's good to see that they're active and they played a big role in this 2-year investigation, but it's kind of hypocritical to me sometimes because I know what they did in past administrations. That's why, I've been very vocal of a lot of those issues. Now, again, I'm in Tucson, Arizona. You guys are aware I'm in Tucson. Again, we had another situation where the mayor of Tucson, along with Adelita Grijalva, who's the congresswoman in this area, and there was another one on the city council that she came in, and I forget her name right now, but it's hard to remember sometimes their names because they all morph into the same individual, where it's just socialism, don't obey, don't comply. Once again, they were out there at a press conference talking bad about ICE, talking bad about Border Patrol agents. Border Patrol agents arrested some individual that appears to have been a DACA recipient. I remind everybody, DACA is not a permanent status. That's what it comes down to. And, when you apply for, say, asylum or DACA or anything like that, it's because you want your case to be investigated. So if they'll look at your case and see what's going on. And look, if you don't have a case, they're going to send you back. It's not a permanent status. I'm tired of telling people that. But for whatever reason, they think, oh, well, he's DACA. You shouldn't arrest him. Oh, well, he's pending. Guys, it's very important. And look, now I'm talking to the community out there that is in that limbo state. Find an attorney. Actually go look for an attorney, not just somebody that takes care of papers, not a notary public on the, in some neighborhood that says, oh, they know how to fill out immigration papers. Find an actual attorney and see if you do have a way that you can get some type of permanent status. I mean, at the end of the day, look, I'm not against immigration. I'm against illegal immigration, and people need to understand that there's a huge difference between those two things. So I guess look, now's your chance. Share it with somebody. Let's move that needle. But I think it's very irresponsible that we have leadership that is out there continuing to wave that flag, paint all law enforcement in a bad light, and at the end, it's causing these individuals to protest, to attack law enforcement, to, actively speak against them, and it creates all this chaos around the country. And at the end of the day, you know what else? Look, you guys are voted on to be, in political positions in the United States. If you have that much of a hatred for the United States, then move towards the country that you feel more aligned to and maybe run for a political position in that country. That's all I've got to say about that. Anyway, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, and until next time, stay safe and God bless.